Let's continue exploring the universe within art and the art behind farming. I'm your host, OmLedu, and in this episode, we're going to look at how to build a super simple ghast farm. And best of all, you can build this at any size. You can start off with a super simple small version, and then expand it as you see fit, all the way up to the maximum size design, which is 2 of these farms built 4 chunks apart to abuse mob density checks. Building this at the maximum size will give you about 2 double chests full of items per hour, 1 entire double chest full of gunpowder, plus an extra 5 stacks or so, and all the gas tiers that you could ever possibly use. And really, the hardest part about building this farm is simply finding where to build it. You're looking for a lava lake that is also inside of a soul sand valley. The spawning platforms must be built inside of that biome. The lava lake isn't actually a requirement, but it does help you spawn-proof the area. I would also recommend using chunk base to help you find large soul sand valleys. Because really, all we have to do is spawn-proof an area 50 blocks in every direction from the exact center of this farm, including above and below you. So technically, you could always just throw down slabs on top of all of the blocks, or mine out the 100 by 100 area that you need, if you don't want to build over a lava lake. Here is everything that you will need to build the minimum size design. I would recommend that you have an iron farm because you need at least 72 minecarts and over a stack of hoppers. But I would also highly recommend bringing a ton of potions of invisibility and a few fire resistance as well. You will also need 18 tridents on both sides. Everything else really depends on how many layers you want the farm to have and how big you want your storage system to be. But I would recommend bringing 2 different types of slabs, and you will definitely need more than 2 stacks of those. All in all, this is the minimum that you will need, but I would definitely bring more, especially when it comes to glass, scaffolding, and slabs. So once you've gathered all your materials and found a suitable soul sand valley, preferably over a lava lake, or spawn-proofed the entire area, there are a few things that we need to talk about before jumping into the build. So if you're building over a lava lake, we're going to pillar out at Y78, or at Y63 if you're planning on building the maximum size. We're still going to have to pillar up, back up to Y78, even if we pillar out at Y63, but pillaring out at Y63 will make it easier for you to build the bottom layers. But before we start bridging out, let's go ahead and find some chunk borders to make it easier on us later. So while facing the lava lake, move to the left and to the right and see which coordinate is moving. In my case, it is my X coordinate. So my X coordinate is 428, so I'm going to type that into a calculator and divide that by 16. Then I'm going to round up or down and then multiply that number by 16. So I'm going to take 27, multiply that by 16, so we have a chunk border at 432, and then if we subtract 1 from this number, that is the other chunk border. So we have one chunk border at 432 and another one at 431. And you could always use chunk base or a resource pack in order to find the chunk borders. I just find using a calculator easy since we all have one on our phone. But I'm going to place down a marker block at 431 and 432, and I'm going to pillar out aligned with one of those so that we know it's a chunk border. But before we do that, go toward negative negative. Find which direction both of your coordinates go down. That is northwest. So if you turn to the right, that is north. And we need to build this farm from north to south. Now you can always use a sunflower or a pumpkin or various other ways to find north, south, east, and west, but I always remember that negative negative is northwest. And so if you're pillaring out from east to west, you're going to need to turn at some point to build the farm. Because again, the farm needs to be built from south to north or north to south. So be sure to keep all of that in mind before bridging out. Now also, I would drink a potion of invisibility and keep a potion of fire resistance in your hotbar. If you don't wear armor and drink a potion of invisibility, nothing can see you. And if you drink a fire potion, you can swim in lava. But we're going to bridge out until we're roughly in the center of the lava lake, and then we're going to mark our chunk borders. So I know that there's one at 431 and 432 right there. Now I just need to find the chunk border for the Z coordinate. So I'm going to take negative 237 and do the same thing. We're going to divide this number by 16, round up or down, and then multiply that number by 16. So 15 times 16 is 240. Then we're going to subtract 1, and since this was a negative number, remember that if you subtract 1, the number kind of goes up. So our chunk borders are at negative 240 and negative 241. Also, you need to build all of this out of glass to prevent spawns. I'm using colored glass just so it's easy to see, but you can use regular glass, it works just the same. But we need to mark out our 4 chunk corners so that we can count out 15 blocks from each corner to map out the chunks. Remember that chunks are 16 by 16. We need to map out 4 chunks going from north to south. And our AFK spot is going to be directly in the center of all 4 of these chunks. So I would also recommend building a little glass house to keep you safe, but in the exact center between the 2 center chunks, we're going to place down 4 glass panes so that we can stand in the middle, so we're touching the 4 center blocks of these 4 chunks. Now again, we need to figure out which direction is north, so remember that negative negative is northwest, and we're going to start building the farm on the north side. And remember that you can always use chunk base or a resource pack in order to find the chunk borders if you don't feel comfortable doing that by hand. But on the north side, right next to the chunk border on the farthest side on the north, we're going to place 2 different slabs directly in the center of that chunk. And then we're going to place 4 more of each of these slabs on either side. So they should measure out 2 blocks away from the chunk border. Then build another row of these slabs so that they're sticking in by 2 inside of the chunk. Now go around to the other side, break out your chunk marker, and we're going to make 2 5x5 platforms out of these 2 different types of slabs. The only reason we're using 2 different types of slabs is so that we can actually distinguish between the 2 5x5 platforms, because now we need to place 3 scaffolding in the center of both 5x5 platforms, and we need to build 10 of these along the front. So if you just want to use a single type of slab and count out where the scaffolding goes, you could totally do that as well. We also need torches on the frontmost corners. But now, diagonally in from the 2 side platforms, we're going to place a line of glass. So this glass will stop 5 blocks before the end of the platforms. Then we're going to place a torch on every other block along the glass. This will prevent skeletons from spawning. And we'll place an extra torch there at the end, like so. Now we need to build 8 of these 5x5 platforms aligned with the front ones, but along the back. And be sure to keep some invisibility potions on hand, because Ghast will start spawning on this platform. Now on all of these sections, we need to place an additional scaffolding next to the top one, pointed away from the glass, with an activator rail on the tower of 3, and a lever on the new one that you just placed. And do this on every single section. Just make sure that the new scaffolding you place is pointed away from the glass. So the front ones will be facing toward the front, and the back ones will be pointed toward the back. And we're going to wait until the very end to place our minecarts on top of the rails, because they will start catching ghasts, and that will make it very difficult to build. But that is it for the platform. Now we're going to build 1 more above this, and you can build up to 2.5 below it. They will all be aligned with each other and completely identical. There is nothing unique about any of the platforms, and they will all be 4 blocks apart. That is 4 blocks of air in between the bottom slabs and the top slabs. And of course, all of these slabs need to be top slabs, not only because they need scaffolding on top of them, but also because they need to allow ghasts to spawn. And as for the bottom platforms, you can either skip them altogether, or you can just skip them for now. At any time later on, if you decide that you want better rates, you can simply just add the bottom platforms. And again, they will all be 4 blocks apart, but just in case you want to know, I will tell you the coordinates. So your bottommost platform will be at y63, then the next one is at y68, then the next one is at y73, then the one we just built is at y78, then the top one will be at y83. So go ahead and build all of the platforms if you want to, or just go ahead and build the topmost platform. Now there is one unique thing, and that is the very bottommost one, the one at y63, doesn't have the back section. So you only can have the 10 front sections because the spawning radius isn't big enough to cover the back part of this layer. And if you skip the glass on the bottom section, place torches 5 blocks apart to prevent skeletons from spawning. But to make it easier to follow along, I'm going to delete the bottom sections, so at the bare minimum, this is what you should have. An identical platform above the first one that we built together. Then on the top platform, we're going to go to the rightmost side, and diagonally behind where the scaffolding is, we're going to place 6 temporary blocks. 1 down there, and then 5 on top of it. Then we're going to place a double chest on top of these, sticking off to the side, like so. Now we need to place hoppers going into that chest and into each other, all the way down until we're aligned with the final scaffolding. And so these hoppers and that chest, there are 5 blocks of air in between them and the platform. Then we can go ahead and remove our temporary blocks now, or we can wait till later. But then aligned with every scaffolding, we need to place an additional 2 hoppers pointed into the line that we just placed. So do that for every scaffolding tower, front and back, so that we're left with this. Now on top of the middle row of hoppers, we're just going to place a line of bottom slabs, like so. And that's all there is to our collection system. Now we need to build the Trident killers. So on the outermost hoppers, we need to place a rail, but we want it to be facing off to the side. So place a temporary block with a temporary rail to change the orientation of the one on the hopper. Now surround that in 3 glass and place a trapdoor next to it on the front so that the trapdoor closes to enclose that rail completely. But first, place a temporary block with a temporary rail, place a minecart under there and on top of there, and then break out that block, so that now we have 2 minecarts stuck between the glass, and then close the trapdoor. We need to have 2 minecarts because usually 2 ghasts will end up in the same kill chamber. But we just need to build this on every single one of these hoppers that are sticking out. So again, remember to redirect the rail, remember to get 2 minecarts in there, then enclose the minecart in glass with a trapdoor on the front. And this is by far the most tedious part, because we have to do this 18 times. And after we build those, we are so close to being completely done. But for this next part, we need to make sure that we are facing toward the south. We need to place a trapdoor on the innermost glass next to all of these sections, but we need to make sure that these trapdoors open toward the south. So we need to make sure that we're facing toward the south when we place them. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure if this bug still exists, but for a long time, if you use this style of Trident killer, it would mess up a lot if the trapdoors weren't facing toward the south. And this goes for if you build the other section of the farm on the other side. Those trapdoors will also need to be facing toward the south. But next up, we need a solid block next to every single trapdoor, and we can connect these solid blocks together with either solid blocks or with upper half slabs if you just want it to be cheaper. It really doesn't matter either way, but you do need to have solid blocks next to the trapdoors. But next up, we're going to place redstone dust along that entire row. Then on one of the ends, we're going to temporarily break out the dust that we just placed, place 3 temporary blocks going up, and then 2 temporary blocks going out so that it's over the front hopper, like so. And then we're going to place a glass at the end of that, and then 3 glass going off to the side. So from where the hopper and minecarts are, it pokes out the side by 3 blocks. And we're going to carry this all the way across, and again poke it out 3 blocks from where the hoppers and minecart are. So right there, it pokes out 3 blocks. And then this is 1 block in front of where the minecarts and hoppers are, like so. And then we can break out our temporary blocks, replace the dust, and now we need to do the same thing along the back, but since the back is shorter, we can just come in here, break out that dust, go up by 3 blocks, over by 2, then place a glass, and then break out our temporary blocks and replace the dust. Then we need to make sure that this glass pokes out by 3 blocks, so 3 blocks away from where the minecart and hopper are. Then just carry this along the entire platform, just like we did on the front. This will keep the ghast from flying away sometimes. So just make sure that it pokes out by at least 3 blocks. But now we need to run the redstone dust from up here all the way over to our AFK spot, way over there. So for this, you can either use glass, or you can use slabs, or you can even use solid blocks, because redstone dust will block the spawns. So we're just going to use slabs because it's the cheapest. So on the side with the double chest, we're going to poke it out 1 block away from where our glass barrier is. So 1 block outside of our glass barrier, we're going to bridge all the way over to be aligned with our AFK spot. And really, it doesn't matter where exactly you build this, but I would recommend getting it close to your AFK spot. But once you get it to that general area, we're going to cover it in redstone dust so that this dust connects with the other dust on top of the build. And now it's time to place the lever. So really, it doesn't matter where you run this lever. But what I do recommend is actually for inside of your little AFK spot, I would recommend you putting an iron door that when the lever turns on, you get locked inside of this room. Because you never, ever, ever want to leave the area while this farm is turned on. If you do, the tridents are going to mess up and you're going to have to go up there and fix all of the tridents yet again. So I would definitely recommend using a door to prevent any accidents. But we're going to place a torch on top of the block with the lever on it, Then we're going to pillar up with torches and blocks until we reach the platform that we just built up here. And you will probably need access to this area up here at some point to fix the tridents or something else. So if you don't want to fly, go ahead and build a staircase out of glass or something that's spawn-proof. We also need to spawn-proof that topmost block by placing a slab on top of it. Then just connect your little platform to this top block. That torch should be turned on if the lever is turned on. And we're going to place a comparator right there on subtraction mode. Then we're going to place dust behind and in front of that comparator, and then curving around to the side, and it should start flashing and freaking out. So now we need to grab our repeaters, and every time that the signal dies out, we just need to throw down a repeater. So right there, that dust isn't flashing, so let's throw down a repeater. Then just continue this all the way across the top. And when you get over here, you should see that these trapdoors are freaking out. Now, there is one thing to note. We do not want to place repeaters on top of the solid blocks next to those trapdoors. So be sure that there is dust on top of those solid blocks next to the trapdoors, because if we place a repeater right there, then the trapdoors won't get activated. So we definitely don't want to do that. So even if it dies out on one of those blocks, just place a repeater before it to refresh the signal. And now when you're done, all of the trapdoors should be flapping like crazy. Now go back and turn off your lever so that those trapdoors stop freaking out. Go ahead and place your door and fill in your AFK spot to make it safe. And now we need to go back up there, which is another reason why I mentioned you need access to that area. Not only to replace the tridents in case it breaks, but also if you don't move your storage, you're going to need access to your storage as well. But now we just need to throw the tridents and we'll basically be done. So we just need to throw a trident on top of each one of these flapping trapdoors. So start at the very, very end and walk backwards. Because if you don't, you're going to pick up the tridents as you walk past them. And that's actually how you fix it if it breaks later on. You simply just walk down this line and you will pick up all of the tridents. But also be careful when doing this because there probably will be ghast stuck in some of these minecarts. So be sure to have your potions of invisibility on hand. And the only thing left to do is place a minecart on top of all of these activator rails. When you place them, they should start dancing, so we just need to go through and place a single minecart onto every single activator rail like so. When you're done, all of the minecarts on top of the scaffolding should be dancing. If they're not, just break and replace them. If you accidentally bump into them, they will stop dancing. And again, potions of invisibility are going to be your best friend when building or fixing this farm. And now the farm should work. If there are any ghasts flying around in the area, go ahead and kill them, and from now on, there should never be any ghasts flying around, because the only place they can spawn is on that platform, then they will get teleported up into the kill chambers. If you notice that your tridents have stopped working, all you have to do is go back up here, pick all of the tridents up, and then re-throw them. So drink an invisibility potion, come up to this top section here, and then just run across, pick up all of the tridents. And you'll have to kill the ghast so that they don't see you, because if you walk inside of them, even if you're invisible, they will probably see you. And so just know that it takes 2 hits with an unenchanted sword. But if you have like sharpness or something, it should just be a single hit. So just walk across, pick up all the tridents, then start throwing them all again from the other side. But if you want to expand your storage or move your storage somewhere, you can either build a little building over here, just make sure that the top is spawn proof, if you want to add item sorters or something like that. Or what I would do is run this over to my AFK spot. It will take a ton of hoppers in order to accomplish this, but if you have an iron farm, it should be okay. Simply run them underneath this little redstone platform, so that nothing can spawn on them and, just to keep it out of the way. You could, of course, just leave this at a single double chest up here and just run up and grab your stuff anytime you want it. Or again, you can run it anywhere that you want to. Just be sure not to pick up that trident, and also be sure to place slabs or glass on top of the hoppers. I'm not actually sure if things can spawn on top of hoppers. I assume they can, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And now, the only thing left to talk about is if you want to duplicate this farm on the other side, so that you have 2 sections, one on the north and one on the south. Everything is exactly the same, so you can just re-watch the tutorial and just pretend like this is the north side. Again, we're going to go in by 2 blocks, starting with our 5x5 platforms, like so, and then just build everything like we did earlier. Just when it comes to the Trident Killer trapdoors, make sure that those open toward the south. And really, this should improve the rates more than building platforms below this. Building platforms below this increases the number of spawn locations, but building this on the other side, since they are 4 chunks apart, the Ghast don't interfere with each other when it comes to the mob density cap. So you can have 2 Ghasts on one side and 2 Ghasts on the other. In my testing, both farms got the exact same rates, so this should double the rates of a single farm. And just in case you need an iron farm or an auto potion brewer for the potions of invisibility, I will link all of that here on the screen and in the video description. But that's all we got for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what's on your mind, what you did or didn't like about this video, or if you don't know what to say, just tell me hi. I would love to hear from you. And as always, if you have any questions or requests, I will do my best to help you out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. But until then, I've been your host, OmLedu, building an awesome farm with you, and reminding you, as always, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye.